Hello and welcome to Go-To Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be doing the conclusion of our all-in-one versus air CPU coolers, and we're going to look at the performance, noise, and value. Okay, so previously we went over the NH-D15 from Noctua and the DarkRock Pro 3 from Be Quiet. So we went over some of the features, but we didn't do the testing quite yet. I saved that for later so that I could minimize variances and just do them all at once. So let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of air cooling versus all-in-one cooling. So with air, some of the advantages is that first off, they're typically cheaper. Another advantage of air cooling is the reliability factor. So even if you had both fans go out, so that's two failures, you still have the large heat sink, which will pull plenty of heat off of the CPU and spread it around. And finally, the noise is usually lower on air coolers than they are on the all-in-one coolers. Now, some of the disadvantages to air coolers is that they're, well, first, and it depends on the air cooler, but in this case, the Noctua DH15, it's not super aesthetically pleasing, at least to me. It's super large, it takes up a lot of space in the case. Another disadvantage with the DarkRock Pro 3 is very difficult to install. As you can see, the mounting brackets are underneath the entire unit, so you have to kind of get wedged in there. And if you're installing it on the motherboard that's still in the case, you're going to have a real hard time like I did. So if you do get the DarkRock Pro 3, I do recommend installing it on the motherboard outside of the case. Okay, so now why would you get an all-in-one cooler? Well, they typically perform better. They're more aesthetically pleasing. I like being able to have a lot of room around that CPU block area to see the components. Now, don't get me wrong, the DarkRock Pro 3 looked absolutely fantastic in my system, but I still like the cleaner look. And one other thing that I like is the ease of install. The all-in-one cooler that I've used in my system is the Corsair H115i. So I haven't really talked about the specs a whole lot, but it is a 280mm radiator. And there are 240, there are SP140L fans. Those fans are rated at 40 decibels when they're fully spinning at their 2000 RPM, and the static pressure is 4 millimeters H2O, and the cubic feet per meter is 105 in that area. So can these premium air coolers convince me to switch from all-in-one cooling? Well, it depends. If they have cookies, I'll be there. Definitely if there's cookies or donuts. Any other kind of food. I like food. But we've already installed it, as you can see here, but I'm gonna do the clip where I install it anyways, just because I think it's fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the test setup that we did to test all these CPU coolers. I used the X264 stress test suite. You can take a look at that in the description below. There's a link to it so you can run it yourself and test against my numbers. And what we did was we ran 2 loops. That was enough to get it warm enough, so that ends up running for close to 15 minutes on my particular setup, which is an i7-6800K overclocked to 4.1 gigahertz at 1.3 volts V-core. So the ambient temperature was controlled and set to about 19.4 degrees Celsius or 67 degrees. And the fan steppings we tested were 50%, 75%, and 100%. So let's go ahead and take a look at the results and see what we got. Okay, so I find these results actually pretty interesting, that the Air CPU coolers were able to stay right there neck and neck, especially the Noctua NH-D15. It was able to stay right there within a degree of the Corsair H115i. That was pretty impressive. And the Dark Rock Pro 3, while it was a little warmer, did tend to be significantly quieter. It still gives you excellent performance. I mean, it's not quite up to the level of the NH-D15 or the Corsair H115i, but for a few degrees, you bring down the noise level even more. And if you're wanting the quietest system possible, this is definitely the CPU cooler to go with. And you're also not compromising on aesthetics either. So if you want kind of a showcase PC, and still don't want to spend the money on all-in-one cooling, this is the best CPU air cooler on the market for those reasons. And another key takeaway is that the default fans that come with the Corsair H115i Extreme Performance they are extremely loud. So why would you pick the all-in-one CPU coolers such as the Corsair H115i? Well, ultimately at the end of the day, it has the most cooling potential. It just depends on how much noise you're willing to put up with. Me, on these stock fans, it's a little bit too much for me, so I'm willing to give up a couple degrees to, shave that noise down quite a bit. And you've seen that in my previous videos. And really the aesthetics for me are much better than these. I had these in there, each for a few days just to try it out and to see how I liked it. And I really just like the clean look. Okay, so that's a conclusion of our all-in-one versus Air CPU cooler series. Tell us which one you prefer down in the comment section below. Really for me, it just comes down to what you value most. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. You can support us by using the Amazon affiliate links in the description below. And again, as always, thanks for watching, and we will catch you next week.